Hey everybody, welcome back to Livie Says. Today I'm doing a tutorial that was the look that I was wearing in my previous video, which was my swap haul with Baby Doll XO. I forgot one of the XOs, oh whatever. But it's actually a Tom Ford makeup tutorial from their advert for their makeup range. And this is what it looks like. I've slowed it down so you can get a really good look at the eyeshadow. Not to be cheesy, I just needed to slow it down because it was too fast, otherwise I didn't take enough time to have a good look at the makeup. Anyway, I'm using a Becca foundation. It's the Luminous Skin Colour in Sand. This is very, very sheer and it's whipped, which is why it looks like I'm using loads. I'm actually not. It's just like, it's such a light formulation that once you start to blend it out and move it into your skin, the actual foundation itself disappears very, very quickly. So there's not a lot of coverage, but the whole point of this advert is that it looks very airbrushed and the skin just looks very luminous and glowy and very airbrushed. She has no pores whatsoever. Anyway, I'm actually buffing it in using two geofiber brushes by Sigma. One's like the one you're supposed to use for cheap products, the other one's just like a regular geofiber foundation brush. And I like to use a combo of stippling and then swirling. And I'm using now a concealer by Becca, and it is in Praline, and I'm using a Sigma concealer brush in case you're wondering. And I'm using the medium coverage rather than the higher coverage side, and I'm using it on blemish areas, around the outside of my nose and under my eyes. And this is just going to give a really flawless sort of airbrushed look, because if you look on adverts, they never seem to have anything around the sides of their nose. It's just like flawless, perfect skin, which is completely unimaginable, but hey ho. I blend it using a brush and my fingers as well, just to make sure that the concealer is warmed up and ready to move into my pores and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm putting a little over the top of my, my actual eyelid area anyway, for prepping for eyeshadow. And now I'm using a Becca foundation. It's a pan stick foundation in Latte. And the way to do pan stick foundation is to pat it gently. Do not rub it across your skin, because pan stick foundations are so thick and so heavy that when you start to try and blend it out, you get a cake face. So use it sparingly and on patches that you actually need it. If you don't have very, very clear skin, I would advise using a different kind of formulation for foundation, because pan stick will just look too cakey. But it's really, really good for this look because it gives you such good coverage and it gives you a very, very flawless finish if used sparingly. So I like to pat it with my fingers. I'm using a Laura Mercier Mineral Finishing Powder on a Sigma Fluffy Powder Brush. And first of all, I'm sealing the concealer on my eyelids, and then I'm moving the concealer out of the little lines under my eyes and then sealing that as well. Sealing the nose area. I like to do all the areas that I've done concealer first and make sure that that's all totally powdered and set for the day, and then I like to move it across the rest of my skin. Another product by Becca is their lip and cheek cream in Blossom, and I'm using a stippling brush to apply it. And it's because in the advert, the model has these sort of wonderful, sort of peachy pink, peachy berryish cheeks, and it's filled in down the cheekbone and then like lower down to the hollows of the cheek, just like that. So I like to tap off the excess onto the back of my hand, because otherwise you'll get a crazy, crazy amount of product on your face. But just move it down the cheekbone like you would highlighter and contour, and that way, when you apply this product, which is the Holiday Glow by Look Beauty in Ibiza number 2, and I use that to set it, if you will, because I don't want to put a powder over the top of it. You'll get that lovely sort of berry finished over the top. I'm using a Anastasia brow powder, and this is the Ash one, I think, and I'm using a BH Cosmetics angle brush. Pulling out through the brows, you really want to focus on doing short, sharp upward strokes at the very front. And I trim my eyebrow hairs at the very front of my eyebrows to make sure that when they're upright, they're the same length as the rest of my eyebrow. If you know what I mean, you can see what I mean when I'm doing it. And I'm creating a little tail and then filling in the brow and blah-de-blah. And I'm using Becca's Brow Shaping Gel, which is totally clear, but it sets the eyebrow hairs perfectly. I used to use Benefit's Speed Brow, but after trying this product, it's about 100 times better, and Benefit's Speed Brow was good anyway. So I brush the hairs upwards at the front and then along and out for the rest of the brow. I'm using an MUA palette. It's the Heaven and Earth palette. It's their sort of cheap answer to the Naked palette. I'm using that sort of chocolatey brown on a BH Cosmetics flat shader brush. And I'm only applying that along my lash line and sort of maybe a third upwards of my eyelid. I'm not going anywhere near the rest of my eyelid, the bulk, the crease, anything like that. And I'm going to use a Naked pigment. This is the Mika pigment from the Sierra Nevada set. It looks like that. It's a loose shadow. And I'm going to put a little bit on the end of a tapered blending brush. And as you can see, it's very, very sparkly. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. But what I'm actually doing is using my flat shader brush wet and applying the pigment that way. And you'll start to notice how much stronger it gets. And I'm also blending it in with the shadow like below. Take it all the way up to your brow bone, all the way across, start moving it out, and then put dry pigment over the top. You'll get a little bit of fallout, but you can brush that off. And then when you start to blend that out, you will notice how high the shine and the shimmer goes. If you apply a pigment wet and then wait for it to dry and then add a dry pigment on top, the shine is just incredible, particularly with this brand. I love Naked Cosmetics. They're all natural mineral ones. They're fantastic. And I'm blending out the other shadow as well. So now it all looks like a slightly darker lash line, but with a really bright inner corner, which is what I'm doing. I'm putting the Naked pigment in the inner corner as well. Using the same shadow that I used from the MUA palette on the upper lids, I'm putting it on my lower lids as well. Brushing off any excess. And curling my lashes. There's no eyeliner in this whatsoever. I'm using MAC's Opulash, which is similar to Benefit's Bad Gal Lash, but I like the formulation of this mascara more. It's the first MAC mascara I've ever actually liked. And I always use two mascaras. I'm using L'Oreal's Volume Million Lashes through my lashes, and it kind of pulls the Opulash, sort of makes it more fluffy, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like, Opulash can be quite heavy, but if you use a fluffy sort of comb brush, which is what the Volume Million Lashes is, you get a much finer, fluffier look. And then for the lips, I'm using the same lip and cheek cream, the Blossom one by Becca, but I'm going to put a little bit of lip balm on first. This is Yes to Carrots one that Shah sent me. It's lovely. I really, really like it. And then I'm smoothing that over the lips. And I'm patting it in as well, because if you just smooth it, it's just going to sit on top. It's not going to set and, sink into your lips, so I'm patting it. And using a Too Faced lip bronzer, which is their lip gloss, I'm guessing. I'm just smoothing that across to get the shine the kind of the model in the advert has, because she has such high shine on the lips. And that is the finished look. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe, like, comment, add this video to your favourites, whatever you like. Anyway, I will see you guys on my next tutorial. Have a great day. Bye!